If you've been trying to decide if building and living in an A-frame cabin is right for you, these are my top 5 pros and cons. Hey everybody, my name is Mark, aka Desert Solitude. I'm new here on YouTube. If you like this video, please slap a like on it and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world. My first pro would be ease of construction. You can pretty easily build this entire cabin solo. There are a couple spots where building solo you may run into some issues, like putting the A's up, maybe putting some of the 4x8 sheets on top, but really, you could build this entire thing by yourself fairly easily. And my second pro is that there's a really awesome, supportive online community of people that have built this cabin and are more than happy to help out. Even if you're not asking directly, there's so many good videos if you YouTube A-frame cabin build that you can learn from. Girl in the Woods is one of my favorite videos. I use that video religiously when I was building my cabin. I took screenshots. You know, I just looked at every little detail because I was new to building and I had no idea what I was doing, but you can learn as you go. And if you have that in your back pocket, you're gonna have the confidence to get the build done. So to me, that's a huge pro. And my third pro would be the tall ceilings and having the loft especially, because in the winter I could sleep up in the loft where it stays nice and warm. When it gets warmer here in the desert, I'm gonna sleep downstairs and then all the heat's gonna rise up there and keep it pretty comfortable. So having the tall ceilings is a really big one for me. And my fourth pro would be the giant roof. It has so much surface area, which is great for solar panels and water catchment, which is really important in the desert. Haven't had any of that set up yet, but that's gonna be really big. And doesn't get snow where I'm at, but if you live in an environment that snows a lot, that style roof, all the snow will just fly right off and then your building will collapse, which I feel like is pretty good. That's pretty positive. And my fifth and final pro is a pretty simple one. I just love how it looks. I think it's so aesthetic, it gets me excited. I'm so psyched when I see it. It's super fun, simple, and it just feels really, really good. Okay, so we've gone through all the positives of the A-frame cabin. These are some of the things that I see as potential cons. All right, for the first con, I would say if you're not incredibly strong at math or don't remember geometry that well, that could be a little intimidating with the build, especially that pretty much every cut you make while constructing is gonna be an angle cut. And by the end of it, you will be a pro, but that is something to consider. You know, if you're gonna go for the A-frame, is gonna be the math involved. But if you're following a plan, it shouldn't be too bad. And for con number 2, I would say this is probably the biggest con with the A-frame design, is just the walls being slanted. It's gonna make it really hard for furniture and storage space. You know, I mean, I love how it looks, but it does get kind of frustrating when you're trying to put something against the wall all the way. You're still gonna have a big old gap at the bottom. And so that's just something to consider. If you have a lot of furniture, you know, you might not be able to use it, especially if it's like has a high profile. You're always gonna be wanting to measure before you put anything in here, because even if it fits at the bottom, it might butt up into the wall. So keep that in mind for sure. And con number 3, I would say, would be adding a bathroom or shower with the slanted walls might be pretty challenging, especially if you're gonna do something, you know, about like 10 by 8 feet. I feel like you don't have much room to work with before your head just starts to butt into the wall. So I planned on doing an outhouse and an outdoor shower, so it never really bothered me. But if you wanted everything in one building, you know, if you do put in the bathroom, you're gonna sacrifice that open floor plan feel, which I feel like is like a really big plus for this design. So keep that in mind. And my fourth con would be It seems like it's kind of hard to insulate, especially if you're gonna install the swing wall. No matter if you do really intense insulation everywhere else, I think even now I can feel the cold air coming through this wall. So it didn't really matter to me too much with the insulation, but if you live somewhere really cold, that could be an issue. I would definitely minimum do insulation like a rigid foam board underneath the floor, which I forgot to do while I was building. The slanted walls, you're gonna be losing, square footage. And then if I were to add insulation on the inside, that's gonna take off at least another 6 inches on all the walls, and I just don't think it'll be as aesthetic. So I chose not to insulate, but that's something to consider. And my fifth and final con of the A-frame design, which I guess you could say for any kind of small space, but privacy could be an issue. I don't really mind, it's just me out here for now. But if you had 2-3 people living in a cabin like this, especially with a giant swing wall, if you were somewhere a little more public, could get a little awkward. So that's something to keep in mind. I like the loft space. I feel like even if I had someone staying here, that would be pretty private. But yeah, with the open floor plan, there's really nowhere to hide. So keep that in mind. Okay, y'all, so that's pretty much it. That's my top 5 pros and cons of constructing and living in an A-frame cabin. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know there's a lot more pros and a lot more cons, but I just didn't want to bore you to death going through them all. If you have one, please leave it in the comment and let's talk about it.